I've seen it happen more times than I care to count. You spot a bargain laptop online, the price looks amazing, you click buy, and a few weeks later you're wrestling with a screen that can't keep up with the software you actually need, or a chassis that can't survive a day on the road. It's a classic buyer's regret story, and it's why I pause before I click add to cart on any high-end machine. If you're on the fence about a 17-inch workstation that promises an i9-13950HX and an RTX 4000 ADA, the question is simple: does this Dell Precision 7780 feel like a smarter buy, or is it just another pricey label? Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. When I first started digging into mobile workstations, I kept coming back to two core use cases: heavy-duty content creation that needs sustained GPU horsepower, and professional-grade CAD or simulation work that leans on multi-core CPU performance. The Precision 7780 tries to be an honest-op solution for both, but the real test is how it behaves once you've opened a project file and let the software run for a few hours. What I found is a mix of solid, sometimes unexpected strengths and a handful of trade-offs you have to weigh before you hand over your credit card. Let's talk about the CPU first. The 13th Gen Intel Core i9-13950HX is a 24-core beast, with a turbo boost up to 5.5 GHz. In my sandbox, running multiple instances of Blender render jobs, the chip kept its clock speeds nicely, thanks to the 93-watt battery and an aggressive cooling system that Dell has been polishing for years. But here's the nuance: that level of power draws a lot of heat, and under sustained load the fan noise ramps up noticeably. If you work in a quiet studio or shared office, the whine can become a distraction after about an hour. It's not a defect, it's just the acoustic cost of trying to squeeze workstation performance into a 17-inch chassis. The GPU, an NVIDIA RTX 4000 ADA generation with 12 GB of GDDR6, is where the workstation really separates itself from gaming laptop alternatives. In real-world tests with Autodesk Maya and SolidWorks, the RTX 4000 handled viewport rendering and GPU-accelerated simulations without the stutter you sometimes see on consumer-grade RTX 3060 or 3070 cards. Those workloads are where the extra CUDA cores and the 12 GB of VRAM make a tangible difference. You can load complex assemblies or high-resolution textures, and the system remains responsive. That said, for pure gaming or casual video editing, the RTX 4000 is overkill. You'll pay a premium for performance you won't exploit. Memory is another interesting piece of the puzzle. The 64 GB DDR5 CAMM module is massive, and the use of a single-sided removable DIMM, CAMM, means the laptop stays thin while still offering a huge capacity. The speed, up to 5600 MHz, helps keep latency low for large datasets, which is a real boon when you're running simulations that swap data between RAM and storage. The only downside is the lack of user upgradability. If you ever need more than 64 GB, you'll have to replace the CAMM stick entirely, which isn't as straightforward as swapping two standard SATA modules. For most professionals, however, 64 GB is already beyond the sweet spot, so it's more of a theoretical limitation than a practical one. Storage-wise, the 1TB PCIe Gen 4 NVMe SSD gives you quick boot times and rapid file transfers. In my workflow, copying a 30 GB project archive took under a minute, and loading large After Effects compositions was almost instantaneous. If you're a photographer or video editor dealing with 5-minute 4K clips, that speed translates to less time waiting and more time creating. The trade-off here is capacity. A single 1TB drive can fill up quickly if you keep raw footage or high-resolution renders locally. You'll likely need an external Thunderbolt 4 dock or a network-attached storage solution for archiving, which adds to the overall cost of ownership. Now, let's address the screen. The 17.3-inch FHD panel boasts a 99% DCI-P3 color gamut and 500 nits of brightness, which is impressive for a non-4K display. In a bright office environment, the anti-glare coating prevented reflections that can ruin color accuracy, and the wide viewing angles meant I could collaborate with teammates without the picture shifting. However, The 60Hz refresh rate is a limitation if you're used to higher refresh monitors for gaming or fluid video playback. It's a workstation-oriented choice, and for most CAD or content creation tasks, 60Hz is sufficient, but it does reinforce that this isn't a gaming-focused laptop. Battery life is a perennial pain point for any laptop that packs this much power. The 93W battery gave me roughly 5 hours of mixed usage, a handful of emails, a quick Photoshop tweak, and some light coding. When I pushed the RTX 4000 through a GPU-intensive test, the runtime dropped to under 2 hours. If you need a machine that can survive an entire workday unplugged, you'll need to keep the charger handy or invest in a spare battery, which Dell sells separately. For a mobile workstation, this is about what you'd expect. The performance gains come at the cost of endurance.